dogs. All the dogs from that house come over there to use the restroom all day long. The people that are parked there, can you stop that? The people that park there do not live there. They live 3 houses over. That's the supposed driveway. I thought we were supposed to have real driveways. You can keep going now. That's the driveway. It's supposed to be a driveway. That's the house down the street from me. I can see 4 unoccupied houses from my front porch. It's been months since that house has been occupied. This is the 4th house down the road on the corner from me. I walk the neighborhood. I see that's been months since it's been occupied. This is on the street where the police station and the city building is. And yet we can't do anything. This is a guy I've tried to buy that house from him. He's had a fire in it once. He owns those 2 houses there. I can tell you what their neighbors have for lunch. I mean, I watch the place. I know that car there on the right-hand side, county police, that's my house. The county police were there last week, and now he parks the car backwards, which tells me he doesn't want the people to see his license. He cleared out his garage, and he parks in there, which means he doesn't want the county officers to come back. I am not anti-renters. I own and rent 2 houses. One of them's in Covington, and one of them's in Ludlow. I've come to you because I am so weary of debilitating property, unoccupied property, absentee landlords. And so I've come to ask for your help and your understanding, and just please put yourself into my place. I walk out on my porch to a home that I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in. It's a home that's been in this area for over 100 years.
It's beautiful, and I've been in it.
It's
awesome.
And I see 4 unoccupied homes from my front porch. I don't know how you can help me, but I'm asking for your help, and I'm not afraid to report anything. So if you need, I'm the neighborhood geek, as Randy calls me. I know a lot about my neighborhood, and I'm not afraid to report anybody. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this right. But I don't think it's right for you to buy property and leave it unoccupied for years. And that's what the property across the street from me is. Now we've got, and it's going to keep happening. If you see it happen, people don't care. So let's leave this one empty. Let's leave this one empty. Let's leave this one empty. This is the way that people come into our city. And this is what they're seeing.
Absolutely.
So, do you have any questions for me?
No, but I've had a lot of people tell me that we should just demolish the entire left-hand side of Commonwealth Avenue.
Yeah. Isn't the state working on trying to make a connection through there to Dixie? Okay.
Where we had the chickens.
They've got their interstate signs up, though, that direct them to cut through onto Commonwealth to get on the expressway. That hasn't been there it hasn't been a long time it's not been very long since they put those signs up.
I don't know what you're saying.
I don't either.
Interstate signs.
When you're talking about having the state take over Commonwealth, that's what I thought. Right. Okay, well, now they've designated it as the way to get back onto the expressway when they have to go around when there's a wreck. So I would think that at some point they might want to widen it.
They do.
They do.
They probably do, yeah. Just in the long
It's in their long-range planning that they
plan.
want to widen it to 5 lanes, but it's not something that's going to happen overnight. I asked the bulldozer guy when he took the house down next to Brian Diener if he'd go on up Commonwealth Avenue and wipe out the whole side over there.
He got that semi that wiped out the fence on the new CVS.
He wouldn't take a 4-unit building down behind my house or at Commonwealth, so I know.
The long-range plan, I think it's in that 15-year mid-range plan, is 5 lanes from Dixie Highway all the way to I-75.
Houses, they look terrible. Driveway issue, are they out of compliance with code?
Now, and that was the question, and these guys have been dealing with these properties all the time, and their contention is that it does fall within that, you know. Now, you know, I see those windows and things like that, I'm not so sure. I guess you can have a boarded up window.
Up windows fine?
Now, that roof right there.
No
I would think-
driveway's fine?
I would think is.
No driveway is fine? No, it's just gravel. It's just gravel. Isn't that great?
That's the question, you know, what kind of tools can we add? You know, if in fact all of that is true, and that's why I have all the attorneys here, you know, is there, that's what I'm saying. So from the attorney standpoint or anybody else, you know, is there anything else that we can do when we talk about appearance?
Yeah.
And I don't think we are, and I think we have attorneys sitting in here that are city attorneys for multiple cities. You know, what have they done, or is there anything else that we can do?
Yeah, I mean, it's a balancing act, right? Because the more vagueness that you have in your nuisance ordinances, the more power that it gives code enforcement, okay? But also, the more likely that the property rights people are going to be standing at the podium saying, hey, I can put gnomes in my yard. You can't stop me. I can paint my house pink. You can't stop me. So I think there's a balancing act. And I think at the end of the day, I believe the nuisance ordinance we currently have has sufficient gray areas if code enforcement wanted to get a little more aggressive. I mean, obviously, if there's a bunch of dog poop in someone's yard, that certainly is a noxious odor, or I mean, I know there's a provision in the nuisance ordinance that would deal with that. Right. Right. Yeah, and how do you prove whose dog's feces is in the yard?
I have a question.
Well, what do you, I mean, the car that's parked there is not, that doesn't belong to the owner. I mean, he parks there every day. I mean, what can you do? I mean, we talk about law being grandfathered. Well, make a new law, and it's not grandfathered, and we communicate that. I mean, this is the road of the city.
Right.
I mean, I just plead with you. I've heard all the things you can't do tonight, but I have not heard a lot of what you can do. And for somebody who really wants to live here, 5 years, I don't think I'll be here. I mean, not because I don't want to be, but because if I don't sell soon, what's across the street from me? I mean, it's horrible. And again, I'm not anti-renters. I have 2 rentals. I guarantee you they look better than every rental on that side of the street there.
Well, you indicated that 4 of them are vacant and have been for a long time, but you can't make people put anybody in there, rent or homeowner. I mean, you can own property and have it vacant as long as it's being maintained.
I think there's laws in certain areas where you can't do that. I know I've lived in areas where you can't leave.
No, I'm saying if as long as it's taken care of.
Well, obviously it's not.
Well, taken care of is a broad term. I mean, they mow the grass. But you looked at them. I mean, they're horrible looking. So it's up to you all to determine the city's rights as opposed to an individual's rights. You can't, I don't think you can buy property and not have some occupancy expectation. That's what houses are for. They live in Washington, D.C., Washington State, I'm sorry.
So if somebody owns a property and doesn't have anybody living there, it's not considered abandoned? I mean,
Taken care of and the taxes are being paid? Yeah. As long as there aren't any violations, that's what I mean by taken care of. If it's not in violation.
I think it's violation not to have a pavement for your driveway. Right. But if it's grandfathered in, well, make a new law.
Well, there's a lot of houses in Erlanger that don't have concrete or
There's not any on the Commonwealth. I walk it every day.
No, but there are. There's one on James Avenue across from Mark.
I mean, I know there's a lot of gravel driveways, but
That one didn't even seem to have any gravel on it. I mean,
Yeah, it
it was
had-
like dirt.
I didn't know what it was.
but, I mean, are you allowed to, like, make certain areas where they have to have driveways? I mean, is that something we can do, or is that, I mean, because I would think if you're in the gateway of the city, you want the gateway to look a little nicer than a dirt path. And I don't think you should have a boarded up window in the gateway. I mean, I just think that looks like an abandoned home when you have boarded windows like that.
And half of those roofs down there won't pass either.
Right.
The roofs are in horrible condition.
And the siding's falling off. I think
Siding's
some of
falling
the
off.
sides, too.
If they weren't on the main drag, these gentlemen would have to be going there because people would be breaking into them. But the fact that they're on the main drag means they don't get broken into as easily. I would just plead for you to do something. I mean, I know it's difficult. You know, I'm a minister. I'm all for giving a hand up, but I'd like to kick some tail right now. I mean, I'm weary to death of it. I'm weary to death of it.
Mr. Francis, do you have okay, I've got 446 Commonwealth. Do you have the 4 addresses?
44114 is the last one. And if you look at it closely, you can see it. I can get the other ones for you there. They're all right on the front if you look at the pictures.
Do they know? Okay.
Do we know who owns the dogs? Because dogs are not supposed to be running loose.
Anybody that lives in the apartment next door owns all the dogs go there. Not just the 2 I caught as I was leaving the other day.
That's a great point.
All of the dogs go to the poo-poo park in front of that house at 61. 61, yeah.
So when they come mow the
6'6",
grass, does
yeah.
anybody clean it up?
Yeah. I mean, should we have a
446.
policeman
We have
watch?
a leash law.
Yeah, we have a leash law.
And I'm not just a complainer. If I can help, you know, I will help. I'm the walking nerd that goes around and notices this stuff. My wife thinks I'm getting to be a crotchety old man, but
We got rid of the chicken, and some people were upset with us about the chicken, I remember that.
I'm just weary of it. I really am. I've watched it we've lived over there close to 15 years now, and I love being in Erlanger, I love being here, but it's gotten very, very weary.
Yeah. Is there a law about not picking up after your pet? Is there a law about not picking up after your pet? Is it against the law?
I don't think so.
I thought we did have a pooper scooper law.
Oh, we
But they're
should.
not allowed to run.
That's the smallest of our problems.
Yeah.
Well, we have to start somewhere.
Oh, thank you for coming.
I can help in any way.
Thank you for waiting so long.
Yeah, thank you. I
love
think,
your
you know, I
house,
think the
by
first
the way.
step, yeah, I'm sorry,
I
go ahead.
love his house.
Yeah.
Beautiful house.
It sounds like the first step would be to write a letter to the owners, you know, and point out some of these, you know, the
Same
the
person
roof-
on all those, Daryl.
And then they built the southern house around it.
Yeah.
So you've got a living room that's like this big
That's that very first one.
fireplace that goes all the way. It's very strange, but it's very neat. I begged Bruce to buy me one. Oh, I love it. He got it for a song because he had been abandoned. I should have told him that. It was like Friday.
Yeah, but I think, you know, they know them all. When he mentioned somebody in Washington, and I believe it's a lady out there, and they may own 2 of those houses, and everything that they've told them to fix, they've fixed. You know, there was a hole, I believe, last summer in the front porch, and some other things like that. Some siding was coming off. They replaced it. They put it on. And they said that they own a lot of properties, and their plan is to rehab every one of them. They're just going down their list, kind of like Showcase and tearing down their properties. And when we finally hit the top of the list, we finally got it tore down. I think that's what it is. Mr. Gallen, you mentioned you think we have some leadway in that. So I think reading into the ordinance in some gray areas and being able to look at it and do it, you know, we can enforce it that way. You know, and start looking and taking some of those things and issuing those citations and seeing where that goes and where that takes us. But, you know, again, you know, if in fact we're wrong in that, you know, our interpretation, of what that nuisance is, or what that violation of the code is. I think the roofs are clearly violations. I spoke to them
Yeah,
back
but we
earlier.
have to
I
be
think the
honest,
roofs are
right?
clearly violations.
Some absentee owner in Washington, if he thinks we're being a little too particular in how we interpret a
really
code,
matter.
is he gonna come to Kenton Circuit Court and file suit against us?
No,
Probably
and
not.
I think that person in particular, if they get those notices, will fix whatever. I don't think they're gonna come in there and pour a driveway right now. You know, that's gonna be an issue that's gonna be there until they decide to rehab that house. And how do you catch the people next door letting their dogs out and catching their dogs running loose? Unless somebody calls us at the time and tells us that it's doing that. You know, so I mean, those are kind of things. If I sit out on my front porch with a video camera, I guarantee you, I can catch my neighbors doing stuff. You can, we all can. I mean, that's just part of what that is. And it's a shame, because that is the gateway to our city, and I wish we could take that whole block. Maybe one or two houses you could save in that block, but that would be about it.
Mark, who cites 811 Stevenson now? We were saying that it's out of our hands, and I understand that. Who, like, if we wanted somebody to cite them, because it's the same people that live there, that gentleman was there tonight with the dog in the back.
You're not citing that person. That's what everybody doesn't understand. You're not citing that person that lives in that house because they're not the property owner. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
And now it was sold, wasn't it, in February?
Back to the bank.
Bank bought it in.
The bank bought it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the Kenton County's not going to cite the bank, are they?
We
Well,
can
we
cite
can-
the
we
bank,
can
but
issue
it's
those
not gonna do any
citations.
good more than
Right.
what you already have.
Right.
So the next step is for the bank to have take action in the foreclosure to get rid of possession, to say, we want these people out so they actually can take possession.
So how long did these people get to move out? Do they have a certain time limit, or is there no law for that? I'm just trying to understand.
I don't know.
There's nothing yet because the bank has not taken any action in court to do that. And I've been trying to stay in contact with the plaintiff's attorney, but the firm that filed the foreclosure may or may not be the firm that continues with the writ of possession.
Okay.
So it's just kind of.
So it's in limbo.
Is in limbo.
Wow.
And I've been trying to keep track with the Master Commissioner's Office and the plaintiff's attorney, and I actually emailed them today because it's been about 2 weeks, but I hadn't heard back from them.
So we could continue, I guess, to cite the property and cite the new owners of the property if we wanted to do that. That still isn't going to get those people in that property to remedy what they're doing until
They're not
get
going to do
kicked out.
anything, the bank isn't going to do anything until they have the legal right to take possession of the property.
Okay.
Which they don't have yet, and we're still working on trying to get $17,000 paid. So that's what I've been pushing for, and that's in the works too, but it's on somebody's desk.
Now, is that what they owe us?
About.
Yeah.
About. The last two citations that were written were $8,500 apiece.
And by no means do I disagree with what you said, that a good kick in the rear every once in a while is a good thing. I've always been a firm believer in that part of it. But I'm going to say this, you can only kick a turnip so much, and you got to have another avenue at some point in time to figure out, what am I going to do about this? We can write all the citations in the world, and if we have to go through this whole and we know how bad 811 Stevenson Road was, right? Every one of us in this room knew it. Look how long it took us, and there were thousands of dollars. But look how long it took us to get that through the courts and to finally get it sold. Now, what happened? The bank bought it back. Now, here we are sitting in the same place we are before, and the property is still in disarray. We put forth many hours, the attorneys, the codes enforcement people, everybody, and we're still sitting with the same situation that we had a year ago sitting in this room. So, yeah, while all that sounds good, enforcement, let's do all this, it doesn't always solve the problem. I don't know what the answer to the problem is, but we got to have something different.
With $20,000, from Erlanger Housing Corporation, would that have incentivized these guys to?
811 Stevenson Road probably wouldn't have helped anything. You're probably right. Yeah.
Has the health department condemned that house yet?
I don't know that the health department has anything to do with residential housing.
Yeah, they do, because they condemned the one next door to my dad.
For what? I mean, I don't.
The hoarder, and she had garbage and stuff inside the house, and I complained to the
Well, actually,
mayor.
the city goes in and does that, right?
The mayor of Lakeside Park called the health department. Health department came out and put a big sign on it. Sort of like what you've got down on Stevenson Road on the left, the
And,
meth lab.
and we did that.
Yeah,
The
you
health
did that.
department didn't do that, the
Okay.
city did
Well,
that.
this was the health department, and it says it's condemned. No one was allowed to go in the house.
We just had one in Independence where there was no running water, and when you don't pay your water bill, they shut your sewage off too. So people were literally going to the bathroom in their backyard.
Well, these people were going to the bathroom in the house.
And we aggressively tried to get the health department involved.
They wouldn't?
And they wouldn't. So we got a little lucky that there were some crimes committed on the property, so the people ended up being arrested and going to jail, and that's how we dealt with it, or it was dealt with. But we had no luck in getting the health department involved in that situation. No running water in a house for
This was
90 days.
garbage up to here. You could not even see in the windows. And finally, the bank foreclosed and the health department came in, and we always drive by my dad's house just because we're sentimental. And one day we saw these people carrying out junk, putting it in their truck. It was a professional group. And we told them good luck, and they said, you don't know the worst of it. They found dead possums in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, nobody's living there, and it's full of
Right.
garbage.
Right.
So,
Right,
it's awful.
right.
And I'll say this, you know, at the house over on Hickory, what's the one off of Division you did? Well, back that was the cat house. You know, we condemned that one. We didn't need the health department to do that. There was one on my street that we condemned several years ago because they were hoarders and went in.
Yep.
Somebody has to get in there and they have to find that and they have to do that, or the odor is such
It is.
such
The
a
odor is
stench
really bad.
coming
Right.
outside that draws us into that. And
We
then
were
can
trying
do
to
it.
sell the house next door, so you can imagine, it was, yeah.
So, you know, we have that tool. We don't need the health department to do that. If in fact it becomes just like, you know, Mr. Gallen was saying, you know, if that stench is coming out of there so bad. House on McAlpin, right up from me, that didn't have electric, you know. But, you know, and they, all of a sudden there was a generator outside, you know, doing, you know, providing that. It was in the winter too, wasn't it? You know, we had to deal with that, but we didn't know it until the neighbors behind complained about the noise of the generator.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Oh, it's depressing.
I mean, I think those are there.
Yeah.
You know, but again, I think that whole thing, you know, the more aggressive we get, and that's what, you know, we put money in to maybe hire some more help this year and do some things, but the more aggressive we get, the more complaints there are going to be. Because when somebody gets that citation for something, they're going to complain on the neighbor that's across the street or back here or back there. It happens all the time.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and whether we want to sit here and think that it won't happen, it will happen, and then all those people will be a part of that. So we'll have to, you know, we can aggressively, that's why I said, you know, if you guys really want us to be proactive and go out and do that, we can generate something.
It's just heartbreaking. I mean, I've lived in Erlanger for 42 years, and my husband has lived here all his life, so it's 75 years. And when he first had his house built in '69, you know, he was so proud, and then just to go down the street and see all this stuff, you know, it's like, oh, it's heartbreaking, you know.
Well, and the same with Mr. French. I mean, that old house, that house of his used to be an old shotgun farmhouse. And they built that mansion around that old farmhouse.
You've been here a while, ain't you?
I have been there a long time. And I wanted Bruce to buy that house, and we went through it several times. And, you know, it's kind of like those people that buy their beautiful homes, like on campus, next to an industrial area. Mm-hmm. You know, all those old little tiny houses were across from him the day he walked into those doors. So, you know, it is what it is.
It's
Not that they don't need to be maintained, but, I mean, he's always going to be looking, you know, just like you, Randy, you always are going to be looking at that little, you know, duplex on the corner of your beautiful
more like four.
True, but as long as it's maintained, I don't have a problem
Well,
with
and
that.
that's what I said, yes.
And I think that's what you're, because I mean, I'm thinking people are going to be less willing to put money into their houses if they see the neighborhood falling apart around them.
Oh, without a shadow of doubt, I agree.
Moving out.
If I were living on Dan Francis's street and where Commonwealth Avenue is, I would really be regretting having put that much money into that house.
Yes.
Thankfully, my block's in pretty good shape, but,
Right.
you know,
Right.
except for my place, but you know.
Yeah, well,
It's pretty good.
It'll get there.
yeah, I was gonna mention that to you.
It's kind of a dump, but it is.
Kathy really likes it. That's funny.
But, you know, people are gonna be reluctant to put money into these places and fix their houses up with the neighborhood around them. I think we really need to do more to strengthen our ordinances or enforce them more vigorously.
I
One or the
I
other.
totally agree with that, and we just suffer the consequences and stick to our guns.
Yeah.
So we'll get
But
with
we
we'll
can't-
get with the attorneys and we'll see where that gray area is and we'll
Right,
try to.
right. But we
do the gray
can't be making any kind of favors for anybody, okay? When we put these laws into effect, we don't say it's okay for you to do this, but no, 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 you can't do that on your street.
She looked at me when she
Think
said
we better
that.
try to do that. Can we put that revision for the rental ordinance on for the first reading next?
Sure,
First of April,
sure.
the first meeting? Okay, we'll put that on the agenda.
Do you think we should try to target some area? I mean, we're talking about a monumental task. I'm trying to enforce the enforcement here. And we've got, you know, Daryl and Mark doing this.
You
Well,
know,
and
I mean,
think-
should we try to focus on
safety
Commonwealth?
should
No,
come
I don't.
first.
I don't think so.
I
mean, I
believe
think
so.
you come back and tell us, hey, we need some more money to hire 10 people or whatever the number is.
We put money in the
Enforcement.
budget to hire more people this year. So we ought to be able to put on at least 2 more part-time people. If we think that's the path.
Okay,
So that'll give us another 40 hours a week.
so more strict enforcement. Getting with
And
finding the gray
you know, I
areas.
think targeted enforcement is okay if you're talking about areas, as long as there's a systematic way of going about it. You know, if we're gonna hit this side of, you know, this area between whatever, Division and Erlanger Road and Halbert and Commonwealth, whatever we wanna say, you know, and then go to the next part, but just have some kind of systematic way so it doesn't look like, you know, and we don't ever wanna do that, because the rules are the same for everybody,
Right, right.
so.
All right. Go ahead, Renee.
Okay, I have a question way back on the foreclosure thing, and this is probably from Frank or Ken. There's 28 houses on here, and 10 of them are in foreclosure because they owe less than $1,000. I mean, I can't imagine anybody letting 350.
And that's what they owe.
Are these all in foreclosure?
No, aren't these the amounts they owe the city?
Some of them are in foreclosure, which was started by the bank, so they're not paying their mortgage. Some of them are in foreclosure because Erlanger is pursuing them because there is not gonna be a bank to foreclose because they have citations, nuisance violations, and/or delinquent taxes.
Right, but isn't the amount that's on here the amount they owe the city of Erlanger?
Yes,
So there would be arguably additional amounts they owe other entities.
yes, absolutely.
What they owe the banks and stuff's not on there.
Right.
That's all I need, I just need to clarify.
Yeah, because when I read that,
Not as a practice.
Figure if I'm dumb enough
could.
to ask the question, probably 3 or 4 other people that wanted
Absolutely,
to know.
yes.
I'll be it.
You are it, Renee. You're
Thank you, Mark. Also, thank you to Officer Jewett and Officer Jolly for being here tonight. I really appreciate you taking the time, and you added a lot to the meeting here. Thank you.
they were way too
Before you end,
quiet.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if anybody saw this, but the mayor had asked us to write letters to the paper.
Oh, yes.
Okay, in the community recorder last week, they put a really nice article that I wrote in there about the Erlanger Lions Club, planning to revitalize.
I
read
read
it.
that.
And the thing was, is I did not write all that.
Oh, you did not write all
I
of it?
wrote most of it, but Melissa Stewart, God bless her heart, met with me, and she kind of did it. But she talked about everything we do in Erlanger and everything, the eyesight, to give it the $16,000 a year in scholarships away, and things like that. It was really nice. And since that article went out, I've been contacted by the River City News and also by the Kentucky Tribune. and they're gonna do a story about the Lions Club in the city of Erlanger.
That's great.
Elizabeth, don't tell
Yeah, see?
anybody else that you didn't do the article.
That's right.
I did the article, but she did it better.
That,
I'm not a writer.
She
I'm not
just
either.
fine-tuned it, that's
And I will
all.
have raffle tickets at the next meeting if anybody wants to buy them for the carnival.
okay, thank
Oh,
you.
what are they giving
That good
away?
news spreads.
500 on Friday, 500 on Saturday, and 1,500 Sunday.
I don't know if we'll do anything.
All right.
I don't know if they'll be able to do anything.
Do I entertain a motion to
Not that.
adjourn? Motion by Ms. Sedkamp, second by Ms. Kyle. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, everyone.
Meeting adjourned.